Trump's tariff war was ostensibly introduced to protect American industries from what was framed as unfair foreign competition. However, the reality is far more complex and problematic, exposing the inherent flaws of relying on tariffs as an economic strategy. Economic inefficiency and consumer costs. At its core, tariffs act as a tax on consumers rather than a subsidy for domestic producers. When the government imposes tariffs on imported goods, the additional costs are quickly passed down the supply chain. For example, consider the tariffs on imported steel. Domestic manufacturers that rely on steel as an essential raw material suddenly find their production costs climbing. Ultimately, these increased costs are transferred to consumers through higher prices on finished goods, eroding purchasing power and reducing overall demand. This kind of economic distortion not only compromises consumer welfare, but also weakens the competitive edge of domestic industries over time. Disruption of global supply chains. Modern economies are intricately interwoven through vast supply chains that span the globe. When tariffs disrupt these linkages, the entire network suffers. Industries that depend on parts or components manufactured abroad experience delays, increased costs, and inefficiencies. For instance, the automotive industry, with its global sourcing strategies, found itself scrambling to manage unexpected cost increases and logistical bottlenecks. This disruption doesn't just hurt one sector, it ripples across the board, undermining the operational stability of multiple interconnected industries. Retaliatory measures and international tension. In the interconnected world of global trade, unilateral tariff impositions rarely go unanswered. Trade partners, feeling the sting of economic aggression, often respond by imposing tariffs of their own. A clear example of this dynamic can be seen in the tariff exchange with China. Retaliatory tariffs hit American exporters, such as farmers reliant on soybean sales, triggering a cycle of economic measures that further complicate trade relationships. The escalation of these retaliatory actions creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and tension, reducing international trust and cooperation that are essential for a robust global economy. The fallacy of protectionism. Protectionism through tariffs offers a short-term boost to certain industries, but at the cost of long-term economic vitality. By shielding domestic companies from international competition, tariffs can lead to complacency within protected sectors. Instead of investing in innovation or efficiency, companies may rely on government-imposed barriers to maintain their market share. History has shown that industries that do not face healthy competition often stagnate, ultimately hampering the nation's overall economic progress. In many ways, this approach contradicts the dynamic nature of free market economies, where competition drives improvements and technological advances. Market uncertainty and investor confidence. Economic stability relies heavily on predictability and clear policy directives. Frequent shifts toward protectionism, as embodied by the tariff war, create an environment where future policy changes seem inevitable. Investors, both domestic and foreign, are less inclined to commit to long-term projects or expansion plans when facing the specter of policy-induced volatility. Over time, this uncertainty leads to reduced investment, slower economic growth, and a gradual erosion of confidence in the nation's economic policies. A more sustainable path forward. Many economists argue that the adverse effects of such a tariff war far outweigh any potential benefits. Instead of using blunt instruments like tariffs to address trade imbalances, a more nuanced approach would involve targeted measures combined with multilateral negotiations. By focusing on specific sectors and engaging trade partners in collaborative discussions, policymakers could address underlying issues without jeopardizing the overall health of the economy. Conclusion. In conclusion, Trump's tariff war is unsustainable because it oversimplifies a deeply complex economic landscape. The policy increases consumer costs, disrupts global supply chains, triggers harmful retaliatory actions, and undermines both market efficiency and investor confidence. Rather than fostering a resilient economic framework, these tariffs jeopardize the very foundations of global trade and domestic prosperity. The strategy may have been designed to protect American industries in the short term, but its long-term impact undermines the dynamism and growth essential for a thriving economy.